tuned in to the Politics Podcast, your home for St. Louis politics. What's going on, St. Louis? It's your boy Terry, and I'm back for another edition of the Politics Podcast. And just like every week, we got a special guest. This week, my man is in the studio right next to me. We're going to get right into it. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the Politics Podcast. If you are listening on Apple Music, Amazon Music, 88.1 The Truth, Podbean, all my listeners and viewers out there on Facebook Live and YouTube, we appreciate you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you are on YouTube. We appreciate you. Got a real good show today. But before we get into it, I'd like to take a pause. We lost a giant in the St. Louis community. She served in St. Louis County, but was known all over. She was a pillar of the community. Started off just as a regular citizen, just a concerned citizen that was involved in community work. She did some things with the University City School Board. Then she became a committee woman. And then she ultimately became the first African-American female to serve on St. Louis County Council. So we want to take a quick pause, just a quick pause, to remember the life of the Honorable Councilwoman Hazel Irby. So we'll go ahead and take a moment of silence for her. And there it is. She'll definitely be missed. Hazel Irby has had an impact on a lot of folks' lives, particularly young people. She took a liking to the young folks and made sure she supported all of us in the community. Everybody that's in politics right now or was in politics has their own Hazel Irby story of how they met her, how they've grown to know her, and what they've taken from her. So we salute the Honorable Hazel Irby. Tomorrow there will be a balloon release. Let me see if not tomorrow, actually today. I'm tripping. There's her funeral arrangements have been put out as well. I actually say that at the end of our show, so everybody has the funeral arrangements and everything. I gotta pull it up, gotta pull it up. But with that being said, it's a lot of things going on in the city of St. Louis County, and the best way to get good answers is to go directly to the source. Don't you agree? So we have like I told you, we have a special guest in our studio today. A very good friend of mine, a little brother to me. I learned things from him, and I'm sure he takes some things from me.
Most definitely.
Eager young man, probably one of the cleanest brothers I've seen in politics. Today I'm actually surprised to see my man dressed down today, because every time I see this brother, no matter if it's a community cleanup, a community event, or just down at the Board of Aldermen, this young brother is clean, sharp to the T. And that's a good trait to have. Cleanliness is what? Is next to godliness. So we got my man Alderman John Collins-Muhammad from the 21st Ward. 21st Ward. And so he's in the studio with us today, and we're going to discuss a few hot topics that are going on, and then you also gonna get a chance to know who John Collins-Muhammad is if you don't already know who he is. Very interesting character. But this is my guy. You know, I know him on a personal level as well. And we've been in many of fights together. More recently, this last alderman run for re-election he just had. So give it up for my man, John Collins-Muhammad. He is in the building. We are so excited to have you, John, man. Man, welcome to the Politics Podcast, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Sir.
I'm glad to be here with you, my big brother.
Oh, yeah, man. It's always good when we get together. It's always a good time, man. So let the audience know who Alderman John Collins-Muhammad is. Like, how did you get to this point? How did you get to alderman? And just kind of give us a brief backstory on how you became Alderman John Collins-Muhammad versus just John Collins.
I'll try to make it brief. I've always been in love with politics from an early age. I don't know what it was that caught my attention. Well, I do. That's a lie. I actually do. I was a high school student, and I met this state representative named Rodney Hubbard. I'm in transition from graduating on my way to Lincoln University, your alma mater too.
That's right.
On my way to Lincoln University, and I meet Rodney Hubbard, and he say he is state rep, and I'm like, yo, what is that? I don't even know what that mean. I don't know what that is. Right. Then he starts to tell him, he's like, I changed. His exact words was, I changed people's lives, and I remembered that. And I met him again about 2 months later, and he remembered my name. Which was deep. He was like, hey, what's going on, John?
Yeah, that's what's up.
Okay. So I get to Lincoln University. I start interning for Rodney Hubbard. I later interned for another area state representative, T.D. Al-Amin. Did some work under Jamila Nasheed as well. And just from there, my love for politics grew and just blossomed.
That's what's up.
It just cultivated in me, because it's almost like what Dr. King said in his famous speech. It's that fierce urgency of now. And when I looked at those, those figures that I seen that were elected officials, that were politicians, even you, and so many others. Charlie Dooley was one. Michael McMillan was one. Freeman Bosley was one. When I seen all the work that they did, how they carried themselves, and their perception in the community, I'm like, yo, I want to be a part of that. I want to play a small role in changing the narrative and making my community better. And that's how I ended up here.
And so what you said was kind of very important, man. When we talk about raising our kids, honing into the talents of the youth in the community, they need a positive figure that they can see doing something positive, somebody that's doing something powerful. A lot of times we don't see black men in a positive light in our communities. And so what you just explained was you saw those figures and you wanted to be like them. You wanted to be better than them. You want to do some of the things that they did. And that is what motivated you to get into politics and become a public servant. Do I have that right?
You have it down packed. Down packed, man. Didn't miss a beat.
That's what's up. So you grew up on the north side?
Grew up on the north side all my life. I grew up in the Ville neighborhood, the historic 4th Ward at that time. I remember the alderman back then. His name was Mike Mitchell. Then of course now the former late alderman who recently passed not too long ago, Alderman Sam Moore.
Salute to him.
Grew up on the north side. I loved it. Like, I'm a true north side kid. When you talk about shopping or shoplifting out of Regal Market at a young age, that was me. Playing basketball at Fairground Park, that was me. Man, just having fun with all the kids on your block, that was me. I love North City, man. In North City, I seen amazing things happen. And I just seen change happen with ordinary people who just believe in a community, and they don't believe in changing a zip code. They believe in changing a community. And I love North St. Louis. So yeah, grew up in the Ville, the 4th Ward, moved my freshman year of college. Actually, I moved to the 21st Ward in the O'Fallon neighborhood. But I would not want to be anywhere else in the world. Like when I travel, when I go to different cities and different states, either it's at a conference or even just on personal business, and people always ask, where you from? I'm from the North City. That's what I always say, North City. Where is that? St. Louis, USA. I say something like that to that effect because North St. Louis played a tremendous role in my life. It was impactful on me, just the people I met, the experiences I went through, and just what I seen on a daily basis, the good and the bad. And I always want to carry that with me wherever I go. So I'm proud to say, hey, I'm John Collins-Muhammad. I'm from North St. Louis.
That's what's up. Yeah. So John, when you did decide that you wanted to get into politics, you said, I'm gonna raise my hand and I'm running for state rep.
Yeah.
That was your first. That was your first run at it.
Yeah, that was my first go, man.
And you learned quick, didn't you?
I did.
And I say that because I was on the same path when I first started. You know, to be honest, when I first got into politics, I knew I wanted to serve. I just didn't know in what capacity, and I just picked the office, you know, that I thought I could be effective in, and state rep just sounded like, oh man, I'm finna change not only the community but the whole state. You know, when you hear that. But once you get educated on the cans and can'ts, the hows and the how nots,
come on with it.
And the processes and what you can actually do in these positions, man, and it's a wake up call. A loss is a wake-up call as well. You know, I ran against a 3-term incumbent. Came within a couple of hundred votes, but I stayed motivated and I ran for something local. You know, I ran for school board first. That was the first office that I was able to win. Yeah. But that came due to relationships. So when you did run for state rep, you know, you're unsuccessful. You know, the outcome wasn't what you wanted it to be. What did you learn from that whole experience when you ran for state rep?
Man, it was a surreal moment. I couldn't even describe my feelings at that time in that moment when I found out I lost. It was around 11 o'clock at night, 11:30, 11:45. I'm waiting for the results. The results come in. I lost to, he's my good friend now, Steve Roberts. The new state senator from the 5th district of the state of Missouri in St. Louis. So shout out to him. We ran against each other, and I lost by it was a few hundred votes. It was close.
Yeah.
And I always, in the back of my mind, I knew I was always gonna win. That's what I knew. I was gonna win. But I also knew, John, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So like, it was just a surreal moment. So when I seen the numbers, I'm like, man, how did I lose?
Right.
But that counter reaction was, I got so many people to believe in me and vote for me for the first time. That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So man, I ran for state rep because, man, you know, I was just eager and I was ready. I thought it was my time. I'm like, who can represent my hood better than me?
Right.
Who gonna go to Jeff City? Who gonna do whatever they got to do? Don't hold back, don't fold, and just be them unapologetically. And I thought that was me. That's why I ran. In the process of running and all things I'm finding, you know, I was telling people I was going to bring rainbows in the sky. Hey, hey, you're going to see unicorns in the street if you vote for me. That's what I was saying. Right. I mean, really. Because I believe that I could do those things without even knowing the real processes, like you talked about, knowing what to do and what you can't do, how to do it and how not to do it.
Right.
But in saying that, not to intentionally lie to voters, but I'm telling voters what I really want to see happen.
Right.
And I'm gonna fight to make it happen. So I believe I'm gonna make it happen. Right. But I learned that our voters, man, they just want to see. They want to see realism. They want to see authenticity.
Yeah.
They want to see results, but they're not expecting things to change overnight. We all want that to happen, but none of us are expecting things to change overnight. We just want to see those small steps towards progress, towards development, towards uplifting. towards social economical development. That's what we want to see. So as long as your elected official, your community leader, your local activists, as long as they are doing those things and fighting for those things, the people are going to be satisfied. And I truly believe that our communities are actually going to take care of themselves, right? Our communities are not going to be stuck in poverty forever. They're not going to be stuck in these least economically conditions forever. Eventually, you're going to see houses pop up. You're going to see families move back. You're going to see new development, whether it's retail, commercial, or residential. All these things will come back to your community. You just got to do your part.
Right.
And if that part is you picking up trash, make sure you do it. If your part is you voting religiously every election cycle, then do it. If it's you, mentoring a local community group like you do, then do it, whatever that role is. And as long as we each of us is doing our part independently, then collectively, we gonna be there and we gonna make it. So running for state rep taught me that lesson.
And one thing I noticed, when the election was over, of course you took a little time for yourself, because you gotta self-reflect after you take your wounds or whatever, you take your lumps. But the one thing I admired about you, John, man, you called me, man, and you said, man, I'm running for alderman. Like immediately. As a matter of fact, I think that race was right. It was right after, right?
Yeah.
So it was like you took all of that fight and that motivation and said, you know what? These 2,000, 3,000 people that voted for me want me to represent them. And so this is an opportunity for me to represent them on a local level. I already laid the groundwork. The people know me. You was busting your butt, man. That's one thing I can say. Can't nobody in the city of St. Louis say they work harder than John Collins-Muhammad when it comes to knocking on them doors, man. Because, bruh, you out there until the sun be down and you still knocking on doors, still man. That's one thing I really, really was like, man, this kid really got it, man. And if he's willing to work this hard to get elected, I already know what he's gonna do once he get elected. You know what I'm saying? So that was one thing I always admired about you, man. And so
appreciate it. Man.
So after state rep, you ran for alderman. You filed. And whose seat was occupying that seat when you ran?
Man, it was Antonio French.
Okay.
He's been alderman since 2009.
Okay.
2009 he ran again for re-election and won in 2012. Then he decided to run for mayor.
Okay.
So he was
you ran while the mayor's race was going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I get them all confused, but
man, we all do. Yeah. Yeah, he it was a surprise to everyone. He didn't file for alderman, he filed for mayor. And I got a couple of calls from a couple of key community leaders who was with me when I ran for state rep. And they saying, hey, John, this is it. Hey, son, come on. Hey, let's do it. A few state representatives called me and actually said, hey, this is it. Yeah. We with you. Let's do it. And at first I'm like, nah. Because I was focused on being state rep.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, nah, I'm going to be state rep. Then I actually went to go vote in a general election in 2016. Went to go vote. And this is in November. And I'm in the polling place, voting in my local polling place, Yateman Middle School. And I counted, it was about 13 or 14, maybe 13 or 14 people that was like, are you going to run for alderman? And it just stuck with me. I went home, talked over with my family, talked with some of my personal mentor. I talked to you actually. Yeah. Talked to Minister Donald Muhammad, my leader in the Nation of Islam. And we like, okay, this is it. So I put my name on the ballot. Then I end up running. But again, I didn't really want to. I wanted to be in Jeff City. And the crazy thing is, I don't even know why I wanted to be in Jeff City. I just wanted to be in Jeff City. I feel like I had unfinished business. I lost state rep. No, I gotta win state rep.
Right.
I can't take an L. That's how I looked at it at that time. I was young. I was 20, 25, 24, 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2017, I run for alderman, and I get it. And I was honestly optimistic about running for alderman when I did put my name on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
When I ran for state rep, the most of my votes came from this ward,
Mm-hmm.
this one ward. So out of the 9 wards in the city, you know, more than half of my votes came from the 21st.
From the 21st ward.
So I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I got a base in this ward.
Right.
This ward believe in me. So I had to say to myself, if they believe in you, then you got to believe in this ward.
Right.
You got to go take it. You got to go get it, and you got to work. If you get it, once you get it, you got to put in the real work. And that's been my mindset every day.
And so now you're currently in your second term, right?
My second term.
Man, it seemed like you've been an alderman for a long time, much longer than because you all's terms are what, 4 years?
4 years. Yeah.
Yes. So you win alderman. What was the aha moment once you became alderman? Like you won alderman, you sworn in, everybody's happy, yay, we on Facebook and everybody's praising, but then the work starts.
Yeah.
What was that eye-opening moment that you didn't see before you became an alderman that you didn't know was your responsibility, or you was like, dang, this different?
Yeah.
You know, like what was that? What was that moment? What was that moment? Can you think of an aha moment?
I remember I became alderman. I remember the first call I got. I wasn't even sworn in yet.
Mm-hmm.
I just won. And I got a call from a resident. I remember the address, 4269 Redbud Avenue. And she was on the verge of losing her house. This senior was. And she was on the verge of losing her house for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept consistently reaching out to City Hall, consistently reaching out to the alderman. And she couldn't get, she didn't get the feedback she wanted.
Right.
She called me. And again, I won. I'm like, oh, I can do anything and everything.
Mm-hmm. The cape came on.
Yeah, the cape came on. Yeah. And I said, oh, you're not losing your house. Like that was my first response automatically. Oh, you're not losing your house.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I don't know. It's like from Adam and Eve. I don't know what this process even looked like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how you could save somebody's house. I had no clue.
Right.
I called Marilita Cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't even sworn in yet, actually. Mm-hmm. We both had just won our respective elections, and we did not get sworn in yet until that next month.
Mm-hmm.
This was still in March. So I'm not even alderman yet. Yeah. She's not the mayor. I called her, and I explained to her the problem. And her being a former alderman for 28 years, 29 years in the Central West End and 28th Ward, she kind of knew what to do, how to do it, and who I need to talk to.
Right.
So she put me in contact with the right people. Because I called. I'm like, hey, this is John Muhammad. I'm the new alderman. Mm-hmm. I'm the new alderman in 21st Ward. I need you to return my call.
Right.
Whatever. She put in a couple of calls for me, and I got that phone call back. Man, I never told anybody this story either. Mm-hmm. No one knows this story.
Only on the Politics Podcast, baby.
That's it. Come on with it. So she put in a couple of calls. They call me back and they say, hey, John, how can we help you? Mm-hmm. I explained to them the situation. And man, the lady was able to keep her house. She still lives there today. She actually bought a couple of houses that's next to her with my dollar housing program, by the way, that we passed in 2019. She bought a couple of houses adjacent to her, but she was able to keep her home. She was able to stay in her community. And when I seen the look on her face of, man, you helped me.
Right.
Like this is the first time an elected official ever helped me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yo, that feeling I got.
Right.
I was like, that's it. I want to keep feeling that same energy. I want to keep feeling that same feeling. And I want people to look at me the same way she did. Like, thank you.
Right.
Well, she didn't have to say thank you. Like, that's my job. Like, my job is to help. My job is to be that first line of defense for the people in my community. So I just felt like I was doing my job. But man, I remember that feeling though. And I was feeling myself too. I'm like, oh man.
The cape really came out.
The cape came. I was like, oh man, I'm good. I'm good. Shout out to the former mayor of the city of St. Louis, Lyda Cruz, and she helped me out with that. Me and her, we did not see eye to eye a lot in City Hall, but she definitely helped me out with that, and I do appreciate you, and I thank you for that, Madam Mayor.
And you know, that's a good segue too, man, because you said something that was profound and interesting, and true. You don't see eye to eye with everybody in this business. When you're in politics, when you're serving as a body, you know, that whole team aspect is kind of hard to come by when you have different interests, when you have different issues. Like if your issues are different from the issues in the 18th ward or whatever, you fighting for your people.
Right.
You fighting for what is best for them. And so when you do have those disagreements with your colleagues, what are some of the ways you kind of come to a happy medium so everybody comes out a winner? And I know it don't happen all the time, but just kind of give us some small example of being able to work with another. Work across the aisle, just being able to work with your colleagues, to get something done for your community when you don't see eye to eye with them, man. You have an example of that?
Man. It's you say it all the time, man. All politics is local.
Yeah.
So like understanding that if we don't work together at the local level, regardless of our different perspectives, our different opinions, or our different agendas, if we're not working together to do something for everyone's neighborhood that will impact everybody in the city, then we just here wasting space. We're here wasting time. So with me, and I had to learn this, man. I had to learn how to disagree without being disagreeable. I mean, I was gonna say my first couple of years, but that's a lie, man. Right up until a few months ago, actually, I'm gonna be real. Right up until a few months ago, if you didn't vote the way I thought you should have voted, oh man, I'm coming at you. I'm going at you, and that was just creating bad relationships, right, for no reason. And knowing that we are there for the same thing, we all just got different opinions,
right?
And we got different routes to go about it. If I leave here right now, I can take 8 different ways to get to my house. 8 different ways, right? No matter which way I take, I'm gonna still end up at home. Right. So finally realizing that, right, no matter which way someone may take to get to a destination, as long as the destination is the same place, then hey, we're gonna be in the same we're gonna be at the same destination. We on the same path. Your way may take a little longer, mine's gonna take a little less, and maybe vice versa.
Right.
But we going to the same place.
Going to the same place.
So finally understanding that, man, and now trying to work with everyone just to get small things done, small things and big things, has been an eye opener, right? Because you said it, what impacts my ward may not impact a ward that's separated by one park, right? Or a ward that's separated by a couple of streets,
right? And
it's right next to me, but that ward may not experience crime the way my ward experienced crime, or may not experience homelessness the way my ward experienced homelessness, right? So many different issues that impacts the entire city, but just has a different grab hold of different pockets of communities or wards. So just working with each other, man. And that's something that I'm proud of the Black Caucus for doing, right? I'm proud to be a member of the African American Aldermanic Caucus, the caucus that consists of Black aldermen from the wards in the city of St. Louis. I've seen us work together at some crucial points. I've seen us yell and almost throw things at each other right behind closed doors because we all passionate, and we all got our different perspectives, right? But I've seen us work together at some key moments, from passing minority inclusion legislation to passing a racial equity lens for the city of St. Louis, to examine city government and how it's being equitable, to throwing millions of dollars into development in certain wards. I've seen us work together so many times, man. and it just shows you what can be done. Like, it's a microcosm of what can be done continuously if we keep that same energy, and if we just be mindful that, hey, they here to do a job, I'm here to do a job. Their job gonna be different than mine's, but can they help me do mine's better? Can I help them do theirs better? And can we deliver? Can we deliver for the people? Can we deliver for the city of St. Louis? And specifically, can we deliver for North St. Louis?
And if you're just tuning in, we're joined today on the Politics Podcast with Alderman John Collins-Muhammad. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back because we're going to get down to business.
This is the Hip Hop Gardener from Blackberry Landscaping. And when I'm ever listening to an app or podcast shows, I'm listening to the hottest show in the loop, the Politics Podcast, your home for St. Louis politics.
You better ask somebody.
What up, St. Louis? This your committee man, Farrakhan Shegog. You tuned into Politics Podcast, your home for St. Louis politics.
This is Kiala Evans Music. You're tuned into the Politics Podcast, your home for St. Louis politics.
Tuned in to the Politics Podcast, your home for St. Louis politics. We are back. I'd like to welcome you if you're just tuning in to the Politics Podcast. Having a real good conversation with the alderman, the gentleman from the 21st Ward, John Collins-Muhammad. Well, John, we know a little bit about you and how you got started.
Yeah.
Now you're here.
I'm here.
And, you know, our community is going through so much right now with gun violence, with poverty, and we are in the middle of a pandemic. Or some people think we're on the tail end of the pandemic, but I think we're still a long way off. And in that same vein, when you have pandemics or tragedies, funding comes. And so, you know, just recently we were able to elect a Democratic president. We were able to elect a majority Democrat Senate. Well, a tie with a tiebreaker because we control the vice presidency, and then we have a majority House.
Yeah.
And so with that, we were able to kind of stimulate the economy with a stimulus package, some relief funds, and the largest relief funds are coming now. And St. Louis City got probably the most money in the whole state, as it relates to relief funds. And you all got approximately how much?
$570 million, $500 million.
$500 million. Now that could really change some things in a community. You know, I'm from a small community called the great city of Jennings.
That's right.
And you know, we got about 2 million, which, you know, feels real good to get $2 million of relief. Yeah. And so with those funds, you all are in the beginning of a new administration and leadership in the city of St. Louis. So with that, the new agendas come. The old way of doing things is out the door. But when you're looking at $500 million, that causes for lots of collaboration, and planning, And when you have collaboration and planning and large funding, you're gonna have some people that they do not agree on certain things. And so the city of St. Louis, with the newly elected mayor, the Honorable Tashara Jones, she just got elected. She has all this momentum behind her. She's fired up and ready to go and has all of these ideas. She has appointments to make. She's settling into the office, but she's really hitting the ground running. But the biggest thing in her administration, well, one of the biggest things, because there are a lot of big things, but excuse me, one of the big things is how will the city of St. Louis spend this funding? And I know with this funding comes a lot of restrictions, because when you're dealing with federal funds, there's a process. There are rules, there are regulations. And so when it comes to spreading that money around, you all as the Board of Aldermen, you're responsible for, one, making sure some of that money get to your wards, but overall making sure the money is spent effectively and in the best way. And you guys want to maximize how you spend that funding. And so it's my understanding that the Madam Mayor has put together this, I guess, task force or board, advisory board, made up of stakeholders. And then you have the Board of Aldermen, who's already been there, and the president of the Board of Aldermen. You all have ideas of how you think the money should be spent, because you all have, pretty much been there. And not to take nothing away from the mayor, because she's been in the treasurer's office or what have you. So the mayor comes up with this plan, and the president of the Board of Aldermen has a plan as well. And is the plan that the president of the Board of Aldermen represent? Does it represent the ideas from the Board of Aldermen?
So,
or is it a mixture?
So typically how it goes. So the mayor has a proposal. She will go to the president of the Board of Aldermen, that being her counterpart on the board of E&A, which is the city's top fiscal body that consisting of the mayor, of course, the president of the Board of Aldermen, the comptroller.
So that before you go on, so that puts the president of the Board of Aldermen in a unique situation as it relates to a government body, because he's the only person that has legislative power and executive power at the same time.
Yeah, that puts him in a unique position. Right. So the mayor will go to the president and say, these are my ideas. The president will draft up legislation, because he's the one that introduces legislation on behalf of the Board of E&A to the Board of Aldermen. So he will draft up the legislation. The legislation will go through its process. It will get sent through committee. We will have our debate on it, our litigation on it, our deliberations, all of that jazz. We'll have our public input. Then it goes back to the full Board of Aldermen, where we debated some more, amended some more, deliberate some more, fight a little bit more. Then we pass it. We send it to the mayor for passage. That's how it go. So with the president's board bill right now, board bill number 2, most of it, about 80% of it, comes from the mayor's proposals, because we respect that, right? She's the mayor. She was elected to lead this city. She was, she's the leader. She's a chief executive of the city of St. Louis. We respect that. So about 80% of her recommendations and her proposals are incorporated into the board bill that's currently going through the process at the Board of Aldermen right now. So our first installment of that $500 million is coming. We're getting 80 million roughly right now is what we get. That's our first installment. 5 million is going to youth sports and programming. 14 million is going to addressing the homeless and unhoused situation. You got another 20 million going to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. 6 million roughly going to economic relief. about 10 million going, 20 million, another 20 million going to expanding vaccination sites and expanding health resources for city residents. So, and all of these are recommendations that the mayor's task force helped the mayor come up with, which we respect, right? That is the issue that I have, and I did make the mayor aware of my issue with it. The board she appointed as our task force cannot do the job of the board of aldermen. Right. They can't legislate for North City. I legislate for North City. The other aldermen I work with legislate for North City. They can't propose board bills and laws. The board of aldermen does that. And that was an issue, right? Because that stimulus advisory board thought that whatever they did should be law, and that ain't how this going down, right? And on that stimulus advisory board, she appointed one member from the board of aldermen to sit on that task force.
That was the next question I was going to ask. I was going to ask, did you all have any type of representation on the task force? Now with the task force, so I'm assuming they had scheduled meetings. Now are these planning meetings or planning sessions, or they are public meetings?
They were public. They were public through Zoom.
So did a lot of aldermen sit in on those planning?
Yeah, some of us did. Some of us tuned in when we had the opportunity to. But the issue is on that task force, on that stimulus advisory board, one member of the board of aldermen sat there, and I just believe in being transparent, open, and honest. It was my colleague from the 15th Ward, Megan Green. I have a lot of respect and admiration for her. She's a fighter. Can't take that from her. She a fighter, right? But she's the only member of the board of aldermen that was appointed, and she is from a white, affluent South City neighborhood. Now, when you're talking about receiving federal funds from the Biden administration to address post-COVID, right? We're talking about health disparities. We're talking about critical needs. The health disparities are in North St. Louis. The most critical needs of residents that you will find are in North St. Louis. And we did not have that official representation in any capacity present at that special task force the mayor created. Not taking anything from the members that she appointed, right? Because each of them brought something different to the table. But nobody was there to represent North St. Louis. And that was the issue that a lot of aldermen had, right? That's the issue that the Black Caucus had in the Board of Aldermen. And I believe that was the issue that the president of the Board of Aldermen, Lewis Reed, had. But with that, most of their recommendations that they gave to the mayor, that the mayor gave to the Board of Aldermen, we like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Okay, but this don't make sense. Okay, this makes sense, but we can change this. Let's do something different. So again, about 80% of her recommendations are incorporated into the official legislation right now. That's again going through that legislative process.
So having conversations. I'm not sure if you had conversations with the president of the Board of Aldermen, but having conversations with the president of the Board of Aldermen, if you had, has there been any type of compromise between what the mayor wants versus you all's rebuttal, or has it just been, this is what I'm recommending and I want y'all to pass it? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I mean, the process is ongoing right now. Again, it's still in the legislative process. It's working its way through the HUD's committee, the Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning Committee in the Board of Aldermen, currently chaired by my colleague from the 22nd Ward, Jeffrey Boyd. So it's currently in that committee. We did a couple of public hearings on it. We did some amendments to the bill, most of which she agrees with are amendments. There is one thing that she does not agree with the bill, and that is we defunded roughly $5 million that would be direct relief fund to city residents in increments of $500 per resident, right? We took that out of the legislation that she proposed in her official proposal.
And I think that's one of the hot topics
Yeah.
that's really out there in the public eye. You know, all the other stuff all the other nuances people aren't really talking about. And one of the things that folks are talking about is the $500 relief.
Mhm.
Now, talk a little bit about that issue. What is the issue with that part of the proposal? Help the audience understand, because I hear folks on both ends of the spectrum. Some folks saying, "Oh no, we don't need to do that. Everybody's not going to get their fair share. What is $500 really going to do?" But then on the other hand, you hear folks that say we really need that $500. It's folks that go to payday loan companies and borrow $500 for $375 just to get the $500.
Right.
Or I need, I'm trying to figure out how to pay for my medicine or do something for my kids, and I can't do both. And so what is the real issue behind that whole situation? Because I know, $500 ain't a whole lot of money to some people.
They get the hanks up off you.
But it'll definitely get the hanks up off you, and it'll do something for a lot of households to have an extra $500 come in with no strings attached. So kind of talk to that, Alderman.
No, that's a fact, right? And I think on a fundamental level, on its basis, right? I don't think any city legislator would be against giving residents an extra $500, the residents who need it. And that's what we come into right now, right? There is no process and plan put together to distribute these monies.
Okay.
And we're talking about this $5 million for direct relief, right? This is not going to be like the federal government, who everybody under a certain income level got checks, right? It's not set up like that, right? This is set up for people who apply, who have to go through this rigorous process to prove that they were impacted by COVID, right? Prove that they lost their job in different criteria basis. Go through this process, apply for it, and maybe you get it, right? How can we effectively assure that these funds are going to the people who need it, right? I represent a ward of 13,000 people, right? I got an unemployment rate above the national average. So more than 11% of my ward is unemployed.
Right.
I know they need the checks, but they're unemployed. So they can't prove that they lost their job because they don't have a job to begin with.
Right.
Because of the social conditions that has plagued North City. And this didn't happen, in the last 2 years or the last 4 years or the last 10. This has been ongoing at the detriment of North City for the last 2 decades. Right.
So how many people live in the city of St. Louis?
You have roughly 310,000 people.
310,000 people.
Right.
So let's just say we give everybody
500.
500. That's 100. That's 155 million.
Yeah. Right. So under the current proposal with 6 million, you looking at 10,000 people who gonna get a check, right?
Yeah.
I got more than 10,000 people in my ward they all need a check.
Right.
The average income in my ward again is at $22,000 per household.
Yeah.
Right. So all of them need a check. But I know that everybody in the 21st ward not going to get a check. I know everybody in the 3rd ward who's very similar in social status to my ward is not going to get a check. Right. I know that we have poor people throughout the city of St. Louis, in the Central West and in Southwest City. Right. They're poor. And under the current plan, they will qualify to get a check.
Right.
Right. So how are we actually going to distribute this to where it is a equitable plan across the board? And when you look at our city, when you look at the characteristics of our city from north to south, the need is in North St. Louis. And I don't want to sound like I'm beating that dead drum, but
it's reality.
If we're not taking care of North St. Louis first, if we're not taking care of North St. Louis just on general point, just on GP, then we ain't talking about nothing, right? So now we can fund $6 million. Now we can fund this $6 million for COVID direct relief. We can fund this $6 million for COVID direct relief. But if we're not giving to the people who need it, are we actually making a change, or are we just spending money to spend money when we could have appropriated that money to another use? And if we don't have a real process to do it, then it's just fiscally and socially irresponsible.
Yeah, and that's what I was really concerned because when I first heard it, I'm like, man, why they don't want to give them people that money? But now when I actually do the math, based off the population, and I know some of that is kind of skewed a little bit because when you think about kids and all that type of stuff, but that's a lot of money if you try to give it to everybody. Yeah, and to say that you're only gonna appropriate $5 million is not getting to everybody, right? Which is interesting, because like I said, a lot of people they hear the buzzwords, or they hear what's going on in the news or what's being said, and that's interesting because I haven't heard much about the process of how this money is going to be distributed. I haven't heard who exactly is going to get it, what's the criteria, and I can kind of see the pushback from the folks who are pushing back. I recently saw a couple of days ago that the clergy coalition got together and they were pleading. They were pleading for you all to put this back in the budget. They were pleading for you all to just go along with the proposal. And you have to definitely make sure you educate yourself on the proposal before you criticize it, but before you go along with it too. So if you're gonna go along with it, you best to have your facts in order. And if you're gonna be against it, you best to have your facts in order. And this is a very, very interesting discussion. So what do you say to the folks that call your phone and say, because I'm sure you got plenty of phone calls once it hit the news. So what do you say? What's your message to the community about this proposal and why you guys are doing this? Like, what's your overall message?
When this came up in the HUD's committee hearing, just this particular facet of the bill, and the vote came, I respect the way everybody voted, because everybody voted the way they believe they should. I voted present, right? I didn't vote for it. I didn't vote against it. I just voted present because I know the optics. Like, we got to be real. I know the optics. You got North City Alderman voting against supposedly direct relief and $500 to a city resident. Just the optics of it, right? But something, and that's the crazy thing about being an elected official. You experience it all the time as a councilman in the great city of Jennings. You experience it too, right? You have to make those tough decisions,
right? And
no matter how much you try to explain your decision or you try to put that rationale behind it to make it make sense, people are going to, just feel how they feel or see what they see, or they're going to believe what they heard, right? So I definitely got some calls from some of my constituents. Some of my loyal supporters called me. Some of my not so loyal supporters called me, and I just explained to them that it has to be a plan in place, because if it's not a plan in place, this is not going to serve you, right? And my job is to protect you. My job is to fight for you. If I vote for this, then I truly feel like I have not fought for you, because I could fight for you and we can get some real amendments in there that dissects this down a little bit,
right? That
puts this relief funding in targeted neighborhoods, in targeted households, right? Let me fight for you a little bit, and I guarantee you it's going to be better than it is right now in its current form. But I've talked to the president of the Board of Aldermen, Lewis Reed. Shout out to the president. I've talked to him. I've talked to other members of the Board of Aldermen, and there is working going on right now to try to figure out how can we get this relief fund in the pockets of the people that need it the most with a real tangible plan, right? If we need to create some type of universal cash assistance program, let's do it. But how do we make sure that it gets in the pockets of the people that need it the most, the pockets of the most vulnerable, just the people who are relying on this to pay their bills, right? I could use an extra 500.
Right.
I know I'm not gonna get it, but I wish, right? I'm just gonna ask you for it. That's all.
Good luck.
But but how do we get this to the people that really need it? And if we can come up with that plan, if we can come up with that process, if we can come up with something tangible and something concrete and what that really looks like, then we're gonna go with it. We're gonna pass it. But I'm not going to support something and I know that it's fallacy. I know that it's like chasing spaceships and unicorns.
Right.
It has to be real and tangible for my community, because my community go through so many problems, man. And like I said earlier, my community just wants somebody to be real with them. They want realism and authenticity. And I'm not going to sell them dreams. I'm not going to sell them some fake solutions that look good, in a newspaper headline. And it has to be real.
That's the thing that when I saw that this money was coming down, because this is the second round of money.
Right.
Everybody received a stimulus, direct stimulus from the feds.
Yeah.
Then they sent some money when Mayor Lyda Crewson was in for that emergency relief for the cities and things like that, because we received about $1.5 million as well, and we did things to set our buildings up for people to be safe and practice social distancing and to clean things and all the emergency things we got relief for. This funding that they're sending, it's my understanding, is to help recover from the lack of funds that we may have missed out on because of businesses were shut down, so we wasn't bringing in tax dollars. And when I heard that this money was coming, and it wasn't a sense of urgency to spend the money like it was when that first relief came in, because I think we got until 2023 to spend this money. And so I thought that it was very important that us as leaders thought of something that was not only instant, but something that was sustainable for our community, because man, we probably would never see funding like this again, and we have to, we can't drop the ball on it. And we got to make sure that we stop doing one-offs and do some sustainable investment with this money, because man, you talking about $500 million, man, that isn't tied to your regular budget. We need to make sure that we are being very responsible and smart about the investment and the money and not wasting it, man, because like I said, man, this could be the last time we see anything like this. And if we just give it away without a solid plan, man, I think we'll be doing the community a disservice with these funds, man. And I'm glad that you all are being thoughtful. Some people will call it political and say, oh, it's a political football, and this group don't like that group, and that's why they doing this. And I really don't believe that. I know some things are political and some things are personal, but I think it is important that you all take your time when planning to spend this money and making sure that you all are investing in things that are sustainable, man, and come up with some measurables and some goals and some outcomes for this money, because we in our lifetime we might not see nothing like this again, man. And it's very important that you all be good stewards of the money, because that's the reason we're in the positions that we are, to be good stewards of the money, man. So, but man, we coming down to the tail end of our show, man. Is there anything that any last remarks that you want to give about this subject matter, and where folks can get in contact with you if they have any other direct questions? Because I do want to get you back on the show, man, as this thing starts moving and everything. And I would like to have a conversation with the mayor of the city of St. Louis and the president of the board of aldermen to kind of get their take. But it's always good to get the perspective of of the folks that's down on the ground as well, working directly in the trenches, man. So that was another reason why I really wanted to get you on, man. And, it's hard to explain all of that in 20 minutes or 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So, but, man, I really appreciate you coming on today, man. But if you have any final words, man, definitely go ahead and give us those final thoughts about this whole situation and anything overall.
Yeah, man. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, I promise, right? 2 minutes means 6 minutes to any elected official.
That's right.
But when you talk about their framework for having everlasting impact with this federal money, that's what we're trying to do. And President Reed worked with aldermen on both sides, North and South, to come up with some funding packages for major commercial corridors in the city, right? So in this funding package that we have right now, $5 million goes to commercial development along Natural Bridge. $5 million goes to commercial development along West Florissant, which borders the city of Jennings.
That's right.
$5 million goes to commercial development along North Grand. $5 million goes, $20 million is going to commercial development along Martin Luther King, stretches from one side of the city to the other side, literally from border to border, right? So we put some packages in there to make sure that we have an everlasting impact, and we try and do everything that we can to make sure that this funding is going to be spent wisely, and that we are prioritizing our needs and everything that we want to see done in our city. And I'll just say to any resident who sees the fighting, who sees the bickering, or who sees political football, I would say to any resident, man, just, you have a voice in this process. Reach out to your elected officials, reach out to your alderman, reach out to the president of the board of aldermen, reach out to the mayor, reach out to the comptroller, reach out to your elected officials and express how you feeling, because if we don't know how you feeling, then we're doing a disservice to you because we're not taking that with us.
Right.
But I can say this for a fact, and I believe this goes for every one of my colleagues in the board of aldermen. We are all working to make the quality of life better for our residents in our respective wards. Now we have to make it better for everybody in the city, right? We just can't keep thinking, I got to make sure my ward taken care of.
Right.
I got to make sure this city taken care of, because it's going to impact all of us, no matter where we live or what zip code we stay at. But man, I want to thank you for inviting me on, man. It was a pleasure. I'm a fan of this podcast. I've been watching it. Man, you definitely be doing your thing. Thank you for having me on. And the mayor and the president board of aldermen would love to come on. And I have, man, so much respect for both of them. They both got their own agendas. They both got their own platforms. They both got their own beliefs. But I truly believe that both of them are doing what they think is best. So shout out to my bosses, the mayor and the president of the board of aldermen. Shout out to them, right? And shout out to you, Councilman Wilson, for having me on your show, man.
Man, I appreciate you coming in, man. And there you have it, man. We have another show in the books. Be on the lookout next week for another edition of the Politics Podcast. You can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on Amazon Music. You can catch us anywhere, man. You ain't got no excuse. We out here. But I appreciate you all tuning in, and we'll see you all next Sunday. Have a good one.